This is Candid Conversations with Dr. Mayfield, a podcast that resources parents, families, and friends with tools to have important conversations about mental and emotional health. This podcast is brought to you by Mayfield Counseling Centers, helping you find clarity, hope, and purpose. We're glad that you've joined us today on Candid Conversation. We are still in the launching period of our season 3. I'm joined, as always, by Dr. Mark Mayfield. And we are also joined by Rob, who owns Kingdom Fit here in Colorado Springs. Today's episode, we're really going to dive into this idea of holistic health. And one of those things that Dr. Mayfield and I really believe is you have to be healthy in spirit, mind, and body. And we've talked a lot about mind on this show. And today we want to talk a little bit about the body aspect. Rob, would you mind sharing with us just a little bit of your experience in the fitness realm and a little bit about yourself as well?
Introduce yourself a little bit.
Absolutely. So, Rob Decker, I always have to share a little bit of my testimony because it's what led me to where we are today. But, through my own trials and tribulations in life and childhood trauma and abuse, it eventually led me to drug and alcohol addiction. I attempted suicide at one point, and in my healing process, I was driven to work on some of the deeper issues in life, but also use fitness as an avenue to get my brain sharper and to get my body healthier. With all the damage that was done in my body, all the broken bones and surgeries, my body was constantly in an inflamed state and I was in a lot of pain. And so I wanted to address that. And through proper nutrition, hydration, rest and recovery, and, exercise, cardiovascular, and strength training, I was able to get off all the pain medication and, have a sharper mind and a healthier heart. And now I use my life experiences, my education, certifications to help other people get through their stuff as well.
Well, we talk a lot about this with our, and you alluded to this, Trevor, of the getting the mind under control is a good thing, but if we ignore everything else, how sharp can our mind be? How well can our coping mechanisms and our mind management skills be if we're not taking care of the rest of the body?
Right.
So speak to that a little bit. Like, what have you found has been really beneficial from a physical, mental connection, when you're working with people, even in your own life? Like, tell us a little bit about that connection.
Well, everything's connected. Right? Everything. So, you can be a very cerebral person in the books all the time and be rotting away in a room because what's happening is that even though you're keeping your mind sharp in a sense, you're still eliminating the brain's ability to grow in a sense. Through physical fitness, you still get to, and we'll use your guys' terms because this is all your science, not my science. I try to keep it as general as possible. The hippocampus and the frontal, prefrontal cortex, right? You want to be able to keep those sharp and growing like a muscle. You want those growing, and you achieve that through cardiovascular fitness. I find that with people that I worked with and myself, I suffered from depression and anxiety, and the physical fitness helped address those issues. You're strengthening your heart, but also you're increasing the capabilities of the mind. You're reducing blood pressure. We also know that you can control your blood or cortisol levels in your blood, a stress hormone, right? And I'll let you guys speak more on that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's putting the whole package together in order to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
I have a question that I think I'd like to hear from both Rob and Mark on. Because I know that I probably ask this question about once a week or however often. We talk about physical fitness a lot in our culture, especially in Colorado Springs, where we're a pretty healthy city in comparison to a lot of other states and cities. But I think that the definition of what that looks like can be really ambiguous and sometimes really intimidating as well. I attend UCCS, and the UCCS gym is full of 21-year-old pro athletes who, they have built their bodies in a certain way. And I know that just my schedule and all that, I can't achieve that, but that's my idea of physical fitness.
Mm-hmm.
So to help our listeners engage a little bit more with what this means for them, what should our definition of physical fitness be?
I'll share a little experience of myself and just kind of my own journey. High school athlete, baseball, love running and that kind of stuff. And then got into my master's program, my PhD program. You know how much of a life suck that is.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm going to study or work out. I'll probably study because I need to get, whatever. And, let myself go. But I'm such a competitive person that if I couldn't achieve a certain level on the treadmill or a certain bench press or a certain of these kind of things, then I'm like, well, I'm not going to even try. Because in my mind, if I couldn't do what I used to do, then I was a failure. And over the last probably 4 or 5 years, I realized, okay, in the circumstances that I've got right now, what is realistic for me? And I'm like, okay, if I can hit my gym downstairs 3 times a week, to me that's a success. And I have to keep on checking my mind though, going, it's not gonna be healthy right now for me to push myself to train for this or train for that because I can't follow through with it. And that's just my own story. Now, from a professional standpoint, I would be interested to see what you think about that as well, of just kind of where people are at. Because I think a lot of our culture is an all or nothing culture.
Totally.
Yeah.
Either I'm going to do it to this degree,
Correct.
or I'm not going to do it at all.
And for me, like, I came out of that naturally, baseball guy, like yourself, and very competitive. A lot of my friends were great athletes, and so there was this challenge to myself to do really well. But, it was a little bit deeper than that. I'll have to talk about my childhood a little bit. I had a father who was really hard on me and a guy that I was always trying to impress. And I had to be really good at stuff to impress him, and so understanding where a lot of that came from for me. And with a lot of my clients, part of having this relationship and this trust between us, it's like we're talking about that kind of stuff, and well, let's dissect where it comes from so we can address that, and then we can move forward with it. Because sometimes people do stuff without really being aware of why they're doing it. And also too, we grew up in a generation. You're an old soul, my friend. We grew up in a bodybuilding generation, and so before us we had like these bodybuilding magazines, Flex and Men's Fitness, Men's Health, and all this kind of stuff, and you were constantly seeing these pictures of what we should look like as men. And I think we took on some of that, like, well, if I don't look this way, then I'm not, then I'm not worthy. And it's it's also trying to find value in yourself and purpose in yourself, and understanding that we're all made differently and uniquely, and we have to accept those things. And so I think that we've suffered the pressure of social media and constant media and pictures and movies and having those influences around us. And I think a lot of us grow up in troubled households where we feel like it's all or nothing. Right.
Well, I think that too, one of the things that a lot of people have a misnomer about is that if I work out X amount, I can eat whatever I want, right? And it's,
you can't?
Sorry.
Sorry, Rob. I know that's a real downer for you.
I'm out of this interview.
Well, and as I've and speak to this too, as I've grown in this, the mental health field, and we really sit with our clients and go, okay, tell me about your physical activity. Tell me about your mental. What are you eating? How are you sleeping? And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The idea that that food, what we eat, what we fuel our body with is almost, and I'm throwing this percentage out, so
you're good,
but like 60-70% of our health, where we can't work out all the time and then eat the Twinkie and the donut and that kind of stuff. Is that, how do you see that? Where are you in that? And correct me if I'm wrong too.
The reality is that nutrition plays a huge key in all this stuff. The old saying was, you are what you eat. Well, really, you are what you can absorb and metabolize, right? Use as fuel. I think some of us have toxified our bodies so much that the good bacteria in our stomach just can't distribute stuff so well. It slows down our digestive tract, where we're holding on toxins, and I'm talking about like stool. Right, and then the stool just sits backed up, and that's constipation, right? And now you have this nastiness just sitting in your body, seeping through the cells, going back into the blood, and it creates sickness. all that goes into the brain, affects the brain, our mood.
Yep.
Food can create depression. Sugar is one of those things that is really a killer. If you don't manage sugar well, if you're not using it for the right reasons, because it is a form of fuel, but unless you're like really on top of your stuff, it's really, even when you are, it's not necessarily the best thing for you ever.
And we've been off sugar as a family for 6-8 months.
And you'll notice like you'll notice that the correlation with sugar in the brain is that it has the same impact that cocaine has. Right? It becomes very addictive. I mean, I bet you can't just eat one, right? That goes for cookies too, not just Lay's potato chips. So nutrition plays a big key in all this, and you kind of are what you eat, but you need to be able to restore the bacteria in your gut with nutritious foods, and it's mostly vegetables. I think we've gotten so far away from vegetables and these high protein diets, and it's getting back to the basics and putting the good nutrition, the vitamins, the minerals, the things that don't count as calories but are very good for you on a cellular level that promote great health. Because know that when you eat sugar, I mean, it pretty much goes to the brain, right? And so it attacks the brain, attack. It doesn't
metabolize the way it should.
No. And then you're messing with your blood sugar, and then, you got this high, this low, you're hungry again, and, it's like you can eat a pound of cookies and keep going for days. I dare you to eat a pound of kale.
Right. Or spinach
or anything, right?
Man, I could go for
some kale. Yeah, for sure.
So I have a question, and maybe this is more biased by my own experience than other questions.
You're allowed.
Yeah, right. I'm guessing that I'm not alone, hoping that I'm not alone in this.
Hey, listeners, if he's not alone,
please let me know in the comments and just let me know that I'm not. Whenever I work out, I don't enjoy it. There's no part of it that is fun or feels good, or I don't get that exercise high that a lot of my peers will talk about.
The runner's high.
It feels so good. I'm so excited to go work out. I've never been excited to work out.
Right.
I've been working out consistently for the past 4 days. Small goals. But it's not something that I enjoy, and so a lot of the times I need to find other motivations in the midst of this thing that is just kind of painful and annoying.
Right.
What do you suggest in that sort of situation of if it doesn't feel good to do, and that's not motivating to do it?
Take it one step further for people that don't enjoy pain because of trauma or other things.
Correct, because that can actually draw up
trauma.
Yeah, absolutely.
So take that question and just I'd love to hear both.
Yeah.
So. Well, for me, it's all about movement. Movement is life. You got to find things that you enjoy, right? On the fitness side of it and working out all the time, to be able to battle through some of that dislike, eventually you become so disciplined in it, it's just part of what you do. And I think that's a good skill or good habit, good characteristic to build.
Connection between the mental and the physical,
right? Because we got to battle. Dude, there's no way I'd want to sit down and read all the books that you guys read.
Neither did we.
But you did it because you found there was a goal in all that.
Yeah,
that's true. And so that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
You have to find why am I doing this? What is my why? Why am I doing this? And trust me, I mean, when I broke my back and I was all medicated and it hurt, there was no sleep involved, and sleep is very important.
Yeah.
Extremely. I mean, that's where the magic happens, right? Is in your sleep, not while you're in the gym. But I remember the amount of pain and agony that I was in, and just to be able to get out of my bed, put my foot on that floor, walk out the door, and just start walking down the street. This was before, I still had a limp. I was all but there was a goal, right? There was a goal to all that, and there were days, and we're going to talk about the mental connection to all of it. I would start to exercise gets the brain going, right? And then all of a sudden you start bringing up memories and trauma.
Also bilateral stimulation, left foot, right foot.
Correct.
Right? I mean, that connects
that
together.
For those of you who have no idea what that means.
It's we're trying not to be scientific.
So bilateral stimulation, basically, it's the movement initiates stimulation of both sides of the brain, which helps process trauma.
Right. And well, thanks for the science. And you know, what happened is that things would start coming up, and I realized that in my trauma, I had to find a way to deal with it, like, and address it. And I would go down the street and I would break down in a cry just because of all the trauma that was coming up. But that was just all part of the process, you know, and exercise will do that. I know that on some of my, like this morning, I knew that I was going to be here. Well, the first thing I do is get up and go for a run and get some movement in. Well, because I want that blood flow in my brain. I want everything that I've studied before to start coming to surface, you know. And so, you know, there's a great purpose to what you're trying to do. You know, I also play softball. So if you're a softball guy, volleyball guy, whatever it is, try to find things that are stimulating to you, but also kind of suck it up, buttercup. Right. You know, get out there, do a burpee and deal with it, you know. So
push yourself.
Yeah. I like something you mentioned that recalls some research that I've heard recently is, I think it was Seattle, I'm not entirely sure where, but they delayed school just a little bit so that the kids could go out and do essentially recess before school. They would have like running and exercise, and they saw incredible results in test scores going up, behavior being improved, all of these really beneficial factors of just kids. And I don't think it was much. I think it was just like, we're going to run a few laps on the track, and then you're going to go inside.
Right.
And just to see that difference. Right. And so if you're in something, even just thinking about like, maybe not so much like that you're enjoying the running. Right. Maybe that's something that is a suck it up, buttercup, because you will be able to notice that there is some really helpful and beneficial things that come out of your day because you've done this hard thing.
Well, think about it too. It's a lot about blood flow, right?
Absolutely.
Cardiovascular. So, you know, if we are feeding our kids, you know, sugary breakfast and that kind of stuff and sending them to school, where's all the blood going to go? It's going to go to digestion and not from their brain. But if we're promoting healthy living and that kind of stuff, it's kind of priming the pump in some ways.
Yeah.
You know, you know, you do that with like a lawnmower when you're trying to start it. You got to prime the pump for it to work well. Same thing with our brains. You know, and that cardiovascular. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, even working out from a cardiovascular standpoint actually opens the blood vessels up.
Correct.
To increase the blood flow.
You are correct. So very short term, that's what happens right away. And if this is behavior that you continue to partake in, well, now you're developing new capillaries in the brain and utilizing more of the brain as well. And again, you're talking about oxygen getting to the brain because we need it. We need oxygen, right? We need blood flow.
Well, that's what we're talking about. We talk about this all the time on here, that the brain is the only organ, the only muscle that doesn't have to deteriorate. And you can do that through reading books, listening to good music and that kind of stuff, but you can't forget this piece. You know, good nutrition and good physical health.
Well, we need that movement. I mean, if you really go back before all this technology, you know, I'll go back to, you know, biblical days. You know, I mean, you know, these guys were carpenters and they built walls, and not the kind that Trump built, but but you know, they're working with their hands all day long.
And they're in the fields.
And they're in the fields, and they're eating nutritious foods, and you're eating fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and lean meats that haven't been tainted by a big corporation. So, you know, they're
another podcast.
Right.
We'll have my
and I'm not and I'm not gonna, we're not. No conspiracy theories, or I don't hate my president. It was a joke. That I really wanted to use.
That's really what he was thinking about on his run.
On my run this morning, I wanted to crack.
What joke am I going to use?
Right. And Chum's kind of like the man right now with all that stuff. So, but yeah, you know, I think that having that foundation of nutrition and hydration, right? Water. Tainted water, but it's cool, but it's good.
Bean water.
There's bean water, right? There's antioxidants in coffee, right? You know, the physical fitness element of it, you know, and but also the rest and recovery. You know, again, when you're sleeping, science has indicated that between the hours of 10 and 1 or 2 in the morning, your human growth hormone is at its peak. And you know, growth hormone is when you remember when you were 18. For you, it was like yesterday.
Like 10 years.
Right. But, you know, that is like it's called the Fountain of Youth. And remember when you were 18, like you could stay up all night, go to work all day, go do your thing and exercise and, hang out with your, and the thing is like, it didn't really impact you. It's just like you were recovering really quickly. And so, the pituitary gland releases this human growth hormone during the night, which allows for that recovery and muscle building and
cell regeneration.
Right? And that's the important, like if you want to look young, it's not about the products that you're masking on your face. It's about hydration, nutrition, fitness and recovery. I mean, sleep, it's funny. I have friends that are like, well, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, you're killing yourself. You'll get there quickly. You'll be there in no time, big guy,
it's funny, we joke about that, but I've got some of our closest friends, they have an alarm and they're in bed by 8:30. We're usually in bed by 9:30 at the latest. And, and I wake up without an alarm at 5:15.
Yes,
and
that's me.
I love it,
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's exactly where I'm at. It's like I go to bed around 8:30, and then I wake up 4:45, 5 a.m. and I get to go out and I have a little ritual. And I think too, like having rituals to start your day, whatever that is super important on getting your day started. So it's no secret that I'm a man of faith, and so when I get up in the morning, my first thing is coffee and water. Another thing about hydration and sleeping through the night is that through breathing, sweating, and getting up and using the restroom, you lose water. Hydration and water is actually great for energy. When you're well hydrated, you'll be a little bit more energized. And so through the night, you lose those. So to be able to drink water and then have your caffeine, because caffeine is a diuretic and will force you to lose water, like to be able to do that. And then for me, I go downstairs in my basement, open up and start reading scriptures and praying and then off to exercise, right? Like, there's a ritual that I begin my day with. And I think that's important too, having some type of way to get the day started off right. And then, too, I stay in a fasted state. Research has shown that fasting actually revitalizes the body too. You get a break from, the body's constantly working. It's nonstop. And so if you're constantly shoving food in your face, it's constantly working. And so you give the body a break and reduce inflammation in your body and you'll burn a little more calories during your fitness, because now you're only using stored carbohydrate and fat. The blood doesn't have to focus on the things in the stomach anymore. So,
well, I want to direct our audience back to an episode we did, I think it's season 1 or season 2.
You remember
sleep.
Better than I do.
We had Peter Jordahl.
Exercise, right? Like
we had Peter Jordahl on. He's a sleep tech, talking about sleep. I encourage you to go back and listen to that one. As we come to the end of...
I got a couple questions to finish up, if that's okay.
Please.
I think, for our listeners, practically, so I think a two-part question. Like,
yes.
Give us 3 takeaways that you would say, if they're thinking about starting this journey towards fitness, what are 3 things they need to consider? And then do you have any, resources, maybe give 2 or 3 books or websites or something like that you would encourage people to just begin to do their own research as they... are thinking about this?
For sure. For me, it's really more about, just putting one foot in front of the other. Mm-hmm. Again, I'll share a quick story. After I came back from the broken back, I remember my buddy had taken me up to a mountain in California, and we started at the bottom, and I was broken and beaten and destroyed, right? And he goes, we're going to make it to the top of that mountain. That's a big goal, man. But he said this, he said, just walk with me and take one step at a time. And before you knew it, like you were at the top of this mountain, you're looking down at the bottom and you're just like, man, like I made it. And so I think that you have to be realistic and take small steps. I mean, even if someone can't completely convert their kitchen or their refrigerator into all this nutritious food, but just for whatever reason, just take small steps toward it. Even if you're not eating nutritionally sound, start pulling back on how much you eat. It's a good start. Start with drinking 8 glasses of water a day. Mm-hmm. It's all going to be a little bit different for everyone. We all have different body types and needs and everything like that. But, I think that would be a really good place for people to okay, this is kind of like a journey. I mean, it's not a sprint. It's not a marathon, because both those things come to an end. the journey goes on forever. Right. So, treat it as a journey. If you fall, if you fail, it's okay. You get back up and you keep going. I mean, we all do. I mean, even in what I do, like, I learn from my failures and I fall. Mm-hmm. There's two guys that as far as like nutrition and lifestyle, that I pay attention to, and then Dr. Hyman is one guy. So checking him out, amazing guy. And Dr. Eric Berg, he leans more toward the ketogenic way of living, something that you do. But he doesn't eliminate the vegetables or anything. Like, I mean, I think one of the big misconceptions of keto is like, I don't need to eat kale, I could eat pork rinds.
Yeah, it's like, no, you need both.
Right, right. Like, break up those pork rinds on your kale and make a salad. And, right.
That kind of stuff.
Right. And those are two guys that I pay attention to. Also, understanding that, the way that our systems work, our nervous system, you have like the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, and one is fight or flight, and you can't keep plugging your body through all this stress and damaging food and even overworking yourself, whether it's at the job or in fitness, because you can do that. You can overwork yourself in fitness. It's now you're constantly in inflamed mode, and now cortisol and research cortisol. That's what I say. Research
stress hormone.
Stress hormone. But that can actually become very damaging to the human body and breaking down tissues and affecting the brain and the heart and all that. So,
and I'll add two more, and we can put all these in the link for resources. But I would say do some studying with Dr. Josh Axe.
Oh yes, and, Mr. Axe. Yeah, he's awesome, man.
Dr. Will Cole. Will Cole is also on the board of directors with me at Dr. Caroline Leaf's organization, and he's great. And I'm hoping to have him on at some time too. So two other good resources of just kind of looking at this from a holistic standpoint, because we talk about mental health as just one part of it, but it's connected to the physical piece, which is one part of it, which is connected to the emotional and the spiritual. So absolutely.
And I think that sticking to goals and purpose, understanding that there is a purpose in what you're doing, and there is goals. And here's the thing about goals is that once you attain one goal, you're going to create a new goal. Being able to understand that you're going to get up in the morning and your feet are going to hit that floor and you're going to be in pain or whatever the case may be, that you just got to have the courage to keep it going. Mm-hmm. I think that in the grand scheme of purpose, no matter where you are in faith or beliefs, like you have to believe in something so much greater. And whether it's just being a better mother, father, co-worker, friend, whatever it is, everyone serves a purpose, mm-hmm. right? And so just understanding that your life is purposeful and that you're walking in that purpose every day, even though, because feelings are very deceptive. Feelings will lie to you. You can have the same circumstance and have different feelings for that situation, right? And so sometimes feelings come and go. You're not going to want to do something, but you're going to want to keep putting one foot in front. And one step may be bigger than the other from the previous day, but don't stop.
Well, thanks for joining us, Rob.
Yeah.
The company you run is Kingdom Fit.
.com or .org.
How can they reach out to you?
Website?
Kingdom Fit. So it's very interesting because I also speak. Okay. I share my testimony at churches and personal growth seminars and stuff. And so if you go to robdeckerspeaks.com,
got it.
Kingdom Fit will be attached to it. But I'm sure if you looked up Kingdom Fit, LLC, Colorado Springs, you'll find me there. You'll be able to locate me.
robdeckerspeaks.com.
Correct.
We'll put a link in the description below. Thanks for joining us, Rob.
Oh, thanks for having me, Trevor.
Yeah, of course. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on Candid Conversations. We are so glad that you were here today, and we hope that if something came up for you that piqued your interest or that you have more questions about, you feel the freedom to call Mayfield Counseling Centers. We're not just here for people in Colorado Springs. We want to help everybody we can. So if you have any questions, email us at candid@mayfieldcounseling.com, or you can check out our website, YouTube channel, or Facebook page, where we post resources on a pretty consistent basis. We'd love to help you in whatever we can. Feel free to reach out.